Tech Talk with Matthew Dickerson. Matthew Dickerson. Tech Talk. Tech Talk. Sit back and relax. It's time to talk technology.
Greetings, all you midsummer funsters. Wherever you're listening from, I hope the weather gods are smiling upon you, for here in the sunniest part of regional New South Wales, it's another great day for dunking your toes in the water. All that bragging aside, welcome to another brand new episode of Tech Talk with Matthew Dickerson. Now in today's episode, we're doing another deep dive into robotics. Robots on the farm, robots in the warehouse, robots in the service industry. We've got solutions for people with overflowing email boxes, the inboxes I should say, and we'll look at the latest in drone technology. Don't blink or you're going to miss that one. But all these stories are a little more than a headline without the input from our resident tech guru. Welcome to the microphone, Matthew Dickerson.
Now, I've got to say, I'm a bit out of touch.
Really?
I would
never have picked it.
I only just discovered something this week, which I'm sure you're all over, but it plays into what we often talk about with things being measured in non-SI units. So
yes, an SI unit is wonderful. It's used as a standard.
But we see buses and swimming pools and all sorts of things being used as a comparison. So the human mind, apparently, I find it easier to go in metres or kilograms, but the human mind is easier to compare something to something like a bus or a swimming pool.
Well, the standard weight for a kilogram is really hard to imagine.
Well, it may well be, but maybe in your mind you do compare it to, that's the equivalent of the weight of a car
of a 364th of a giraffe.
Maybe that's it.
Yeah.
So I got sent a photo this week that had a banana sitting on top of the box, and I couldn't work out why. And so I made the silly error. Rather than look up why the banana was on there, I asked the person who sent it to me, why is there a banana on top? He said, what? You don't know about the banana
scale? Yep. Yes, you were out of touch.
Out of touch completely. So I looked it up. Way back in 2010, this started as a bit of a Reddit thread where people were saying, you're not sure how big that is, I'll put a banana on there for scale. So it's been going for where did I miss it? How did I miss it?
They're pretty much all the same size, but it'd be interesting to see if there's an international standard banana.
Well, that is something interesting, isn't it? What's a banana? 20 centimetres, 18, 20 centimetres, something like that. So I suppose if you sit it on something, maybe if you're taking a photograph, you don't get tricked by the way you take the photograph, maybe. Maybe it's a good idea to put it on there.
For sure.
Maybe some people should create a tool, a measurement tool, or rule, I call it, if you like, that's got markings on it for a banana to scale. I don't know. But the other thing I thought...
But I've heard about people like who've ordered a rug online or something, and what they've received would fit in an envelope. It was actually for a doll's house, yeah.
Right.
But they got charged the amount, a couple $100 that you would expect to put on a rug on your lounge room floor. But it was something that fit in an envelope. So if only they had one of these international standard bananas.
That's right. As long as someone didn't then go and take a banana from a doll's house and then put that on top. But banana for scale, I didn't know about it. There you go.
It's interesting that they chose a banana though, and I guess it's because an international size swimming pool, like a 50-metre swimming pool, is just so hard to carry.
It's harder to put beside the rug, isn't it? So
and giraffes are just like, they move too much.
That's right. Elephants and giraffes are a bit hard to stay still while I put this rug beside you. So banana, maybe it is such a universal fruit. There are some other fruits, but you can get bananas all year round. You can get them in most places.
Bananas are long fruit, and they're pretty much the same size.
Yeah, you do get some baby finger bananas.
I know. Yeah, but they've always got a bit of wax on them, haven't they?
They do. They've got
so you'd be able to tell.
That's right. So now, what about the potassium? Because obviously bananas are radioactive. Do we start to get to the stage where we start having comparisons about a nuclear power plant output 28,000 bananas? Is that just getting silly now?
Well, banana, as a standard unit, covers many, many bases.
It can do. Right, so I'm up to date now. Apparently.
Fantastic. Good on you. Well done on your homework there. Enough with this banana pish-posh. Let's get this ball rolling. Now, farmers are often the quickest adopters of new technology. And for one reason or another, all around the world, in 2026, farmers are facing major labour shortages. And that's where technology has been filling the gaps, more and more so with robotics. But up to now, Matthew, for tomato growers, it just hasn't been so easy.
It hasn't been easy, and getting robotics to do things like pick tomatoes is a real challenge. And I've said it before, we're pretty clever. Not just you and I, but we're pretty clever as well.
I reckon I'm clever enough to pick a tomato.
Well, that's right. The human race in general is pretty clever. We could go along without a lot of training and go, not quite. Oh, yeah, that one's right. And pick it. And I reckon we do a reasonable job. And with a bit of training, I reckon we do a fantastic job.
Yeah.
But it comes to the challenge of replicating humans. We're seeing it in a whole range of things, autonomous vehicles, tomato picking, getting a program, writing code to simulate what a human does when they do something like pick a tomato.
Well, with tomatoes, the problem is, and I've got limited experience, but a little bit of experience with tomato growing, they don't all ripen at the same time.
No, that's the problem,
So
isn't
some
it?
need to be left on the vine a little bit longer.
So you get a little cluster there and you go, that one's good to pick and that one's not. And how are you doing that? As a human, we're doing that visually and by touch. So we're clever enough to do all that without, again, much training. You could see some tomatoes go, yep, no, oh, good, yep, done. A robot, on the other hand, is a real challenge. So we have got some labour shortages. You identified that correctly. The whole range of reasons. I won't even delve into that. I'm not an expert on that, but a whole range of reasons for that. But getting to the point where we don't have tomato growers leaving fruit on the vine or picking them too early, getting a robot that can do all this is a challenge. So Osaka Metropolitan University, a professor there has taken up the challenge. And so rather than work on what you might think a robot might work on is get better at the touch, at the squeeze, at the feel to check each tomato, it's actually said, or this research professor has said, let's go for visual clues first. So really work on the position of the fruit, the stem shape, the stem direction, how many leaves are around it. And now, one of the things that we've talked about often is we can expose AI to tens, hundreds, thousands, tens of thousands of images, and we can say, here, all these images are ripe tomatoes. All these images are not ripe tomatoes. We, as humans, may not pick up the subtle differences, but when you feed that to AI, they go, right, I know exactly the angle or the stem or the position, whatever it might be, things we might miss. So when this particular robot goes to pick a fruit, it's already 50%, 60% of the way there before it then has to do a subtle squeeze test and make sure it's right to then take off the vine. So in their early tests, I wasn't that impressed with this part, but the researchers were. They said in their early tests, they were getting an 81% successful harvest rate compared to a human doing it. And I went, oh, that's not that impressive.
Yeah.
But they said that was pretty impressive in terms of what they
Well,
have
give
done
themselves
in
a
the
pat
past.
on the back because it's probably
That's
really
right.
hard to get
Yeah.
go from scratch.
Well, I think that's right. So, again, the whole process here was that the robot sometimes would actually try one approach and then stop and pull back and come in from a different angle because of that cluster of I was going to say bananas. I'm thinking bananas too much. A cluster of tomatoes that are sitting there. So it is really doing what a human will do. Look, analyse, go, oh, no, I can't go that way. I'll go this way here. So really trying to emulate what humans do. And I think more and more as we keep delving into robotics, I think more and more we will actually get to the point where we just go, what would a human do? Let's do the same thing here. And that's exactly what they're doing there. So you're right, farmers are early adopters. They have to be for a whole range of things. But I think we'll see more and more of these robots in greenhouses and farms and let the humans manage maybe the complex stuff and let the simple, I say simple for human, with the simpler tasks be undertaken by a robot.
Well, one of the things that I used to do as a very young fella was I used to pick grapes, but they would get me in as one of the lackeys after all the professionals had gone through and raced along the vine and grabbed all the big easy bunches.
Right.
Then I was the human that came along and had to go fossicking, and it was really slow going in a 45-degree heat and whatnot. So what I can see happening here is maybe we get, to start off with at least these robots, picking the ones that they need to pick, the 81% that are right. And definitely right, and then you have another human that follows them afterwards.
And maybe picks up those
12-year-old who doesn't mind earning 40 cents for an hour's work.
Or maybe they just get the robot to go along again and again and again and keep getting those ones when they're ready, or just get the technology better, maybe.
Yeah.
So a range of options.
In a world where online shopping is a norm and parcels, as we all know, come in many different shapes and sizes, the act of sorting packages for shipment requires focus, flexibility, and sometimes a little bit of initiative as well. Now, robots are excellent at monotonous tasks, we know that, but usually this is when things are presented in an orderly fashion. Not when thousands of odd-shaped packages are just dumped at your feet. Matt, Figure AI is a humanoid robot, and it's up for the challenge in a warehouse somewhere. It's reporting for duty.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And One of the things that's fascinating, I remember being in a warehouse one day watching this whole process where this warehouse was perfectly laid out with all of their various products on the shelves where they should be on those shelves. Yeah. And when an order would come through the system, I would watch the whole order from beginning to end because I was fascinated by it. And when the order came through, this little device went zooming along and up on rails in the warehouse, went to the particular item that it had to pick, pulled it off, zoomed back down, dropped in a box, some foam went in top, packaged it up and off it went. But as you've said, that's when you've got a known process. In other words, you've got a product that you know what it is and where it is.
Everything's predictable.
Correct. And that's where robots typically have been great. They can do the same task over and over, and that one, a program task, it's fairly easy to program. Shelf AZ or AZ57 has got this product, go to there. What Figure AI is saying is that we've got robots that we think are almost at the point they're ready to be in a warehouse situation to replace humans because they can do the things humans can do. And so people have said, sure, we've seen those gimmicky or maybe a bit of trickery in there of showing off what robots can do. So give us a real life demo. So they dumped a bunch of boxes in a pile and told the Figure AI humanoid robot to just sort them out and send them off to where they should go. And sure enough, an hour later, that pile of boxes has been reduced to zero and all those boxes have been sent in the correct direction. Exactly right.
Yeah.
It did struggle a little bit with some of the soft packages. So when you had something that might have had clothing in a soft parcel,
okay,
maybe because it wasn't a perfectly flat label for it to read, maybe it was just a bit confronting that it picked it up and it didn't react in the hands the way it should have because it wasn't a box. It wasn't a bit hard. It didn't feed back to say it was a box, but got past those ones and the boxes, it just looked at it, went to the place, away it went. So this is where Figure AI is saying that we think we can do it. They've been running a trial program in a BMW manufacturing plant in South Carolina the last 11 months. And again, this is not one of those things where all the parts are in a certain spot. They've been responsible for getting 90,000 automotive parts onto production lines, not installing them on the cars, but taking them to where a human was still doing the final installation.
Like, yeah, right.
90,000 parts, 30,000 vehicles they've helped assemble over that 11-month time frame. So they are getting better and better. And, of course, we all know that the objective, the ultimate aim is to make sure that I can get my clothes picked up off the bedroom floor of my kids. So
that, in the long run, that's what we need.
That's exactly what we need. So the whole process here is really pretty exciting that we're going to get warehouses, logistics, operations just with robots in there doing some of these tasks. And the first thing I hear when I talk about these sort of stories is people yell out and say, oh, no, what about the jobs? What about the human jobs that you're displacing? The problem is these organisations just can't get enough humans. There seem to be labour shortages in every occupation. So whether it's assembling a car, whether it's picking tomatoes, whatever those jobs are, we just don't have the humans. I don't know what all the humans are doing, but they don't seem to be available for so many jobs now. So getting humanoid robots in to do it. So, yeah, have a look at the next warehouse, the next factory, the next logistics hub, and you'll see a robot possibly in there before you know it.
We're in the future. As society evolves in a world where robots have stepped out of the realm of novelty and into common functionality, we're looking at what the next phase entails for robots. Certainly in commercial and industrial spheres, and even in domestic settings, robots are now fairly common. But how do you see robots performing in the service industries, Matt?
A whole range of things. This
is really interesting because I haven't really thought about the service industries.
Not really, no. But I was in Japan last year and we had dinner at a restaurant, might have been lunch actually at a restaurant, and then along came a robot device. And it wasn't humanoid, it had wheels and it wheeled around, and it was picking up it wasn't picking up the plates. Sorry, plates were loaded onto it and off it went.
Right.
And I actually said to one of the people there, so what happens if you get can I stand in front of it kind of thing? Sure. And so he stood in front of it and just stopped and then thought about things for a little while, then went around me. And so it was quite good at getting the plates back. So it still relied on humans. They all they had to do was load up the plates and off it went and took them back to the kitchen. So it just made the people out on the floor a little bit more efficient rather than trying to load up and carry them all back to the kitchen. So you see a few things like that, but across a whole range of service industries, we're getting better sensors, we're getting definitely better AI, and we're getting better autonomous movement where they can basically work beside, like that example there, work beside people. So when you start to consider healthcare, for example, you've got now, as we speak, not planned, not happening someday soon, as we speak, you've got autonomous robots who will take linen around the aged care facility. You've got meals being delivered. You've got medications being delivered, not injected, not given, but delivered to the actual patient as such. You've got medical supplies, and what they found already in their analysis is that the aged care workers or the nurses in a hospital or a healthcare situation are reducing the amount of walking they're needing to do. Now, you might think that's terrible for the steps you want to get for the day, but what it means is...
When you've got nurses doing 25,000 steps a day,
that's right.
to shed a 10,000 here or there might be all right.
And is that the thing that we employ a nurse to do?
No.
Do we want to use our nurses for their skill, their expertise, their empathy, their treatment of patients, rather than using them to walk around and deliver all these various things? So that's one way robots are being used. We've also got some patient-focused robots who will monitor some vital signs. So they'll go through and do the ward check, if you like, and they'll look at the various machines, or they might even plug into some of those machines and get some readings. And if there's something where they think some action needs to be taken, someone's alerted. So a real doctor or a nurse is alerted about that. So they're not, again, trying to do the primary care. They're just saying, I'll do the monitoring in the background. I'll save you walking around and doing the rounds and saying good day to all these patients, because you'll then deal with the really urgent ones, the important ones, and I'll just take care of the monitoring side of it. We've got rehab robots assisting guided exercises. We've got people that have had a fall, for example, helping them get back up and get on their feet again and actually move around and learn to move.
Wow.
And we've also got customer-facing robots providing directions and answering questions, just some basic questions. You go into a shopping mall, you see a big screen and you punch on it or you type where you're trying to go. Some malls are replacing those with a robot that stands there. It doesn't take you to where you've got to go, but actually talks to you and gives you directions. Wow. And of course, they don't do the silly thing that humans do when you say, where's the store ABC? And they go, I just go past the store XYZ. Well, if I'm asking for store ABC, I probably don't know this shopping mall at all. It's like when you ask someone for street directions, just go past Darling Street and you'll get to Macquarie Street. You go, I don't know either street here because I'm not from here. Otherwise, I wouldn't be asking for directions. The other one that I thought is blatantly obvious, and I know when you walk into a shopping mall at night sometimes, you'll see a guy and you'll say, "G'day, Jimmy, how you going? I've seen you here for the last 10 years," on the back of the floor cleaning machine.
The polisher,
The polisher. It's a big mother machine, makes the floor look beautiful, and they do that every night to make sure that floor is glistening every day for shoppers. And you think, I'm pretty sure that guy does the same path, up that way, round that corner, down that way there, every single night. So surely that's one. And so we are now getting some floor cleaning robots that will basically work along. And if someone does walk in front of them...
It's called a Roomba, isn't it?
Well, a Roomba on an industrial scale.
On an industrial scale,
yeah. Getting that Roomba for a shopping mall.
Yep.
And so at night time you just go, oh, look at that. And there's not many people around, but if it does get someone that walks in front of it, it stops and thinks about it. And do I take an alternative path? Do I wait till that person gets out of the road? Do I give an electric shock to that person? Who knows? But they can do that sort of thing. So
very much becoming normalised.
Exactly right. And that's the thing, isn't it? You'll see one, you go, that's a novelty. And then you'll see two or three. And before you know it, they're everywhere.
Yeah, they're everywhere.
They're normalised. So it becomes a part of society. Once again, getting to the point where we can have one in my house. Like, how hard is it for you manufacturers out there?
Just need them to pick up the socks.
Take care of me.
From the lounge room, yep. For engineers, the field of drone technology has got to be up there with the most dynamic and exciting areas to work in, simply from the rate at which new developments keep hitting the headlines. The competition to push the boundaries of flight time, endurance, payload, and also speed is red hot, and it's open to anyone who's willing to have a tinker. And so, Matt, if we're talking about breaking speed records, the fastest drones now are clocking ridiculous results.
They are indeed. And there seems to be, for some strange reason, a bit of a bird theme here. So the latest one is called a Peregrine, so obviously named after a falcon, 657 kilometres an hour. And it's not just, oh, look at that, I clocked 657. It's been verified by Guinness World Records. So if you're going to do it properly, do it seriously.
Yeah, that's right.
And make it a real attempt.
No one wants to know about anecdotal evidence.
No, and that's been achieved by YouTuber Luke Bell. Now, YouTuber is an occupation. How long have we been able to say YouTuber is
long enough for my sons when they were young to say, what do you want to do when you grow up? Not a policeman, not a fireman or anything. No, I want to be a YouTuber. Like,
Maybe that's all those people that aren't working in the service industry. Maybe that's what they are doing. They're all YouTubers and influencers.
Thing, isn't it?
That's right.
But to see these things accelerate, it takes them nothing to get up to that top speed.
That's right. And they are small. So these are still relatively small. So The record they've just beaten is a record that was owned by, the YouTuber is Luke Bell and his dad Mike Bell. So the Bells have just broken that record, 6:57.
Congratulations on your ability to make a buck out of being a YouTuber.
That's right. Well, we assume he does. Maybe Dad's still paying for him. Who knows? But he probably does. There's an Australian aerospace engineer, Ben Biggs, who held the record before the Bell family, and he had a Blackbird at 626 kilometres an hour. Now, obviously, Blackbird, maybe he named it after the Blackbird plane that was popular back in the 60s. Yeah, so that was and that had records of its own. I think it was the fastest air-driven, as in air combustion, not jet combustion.
Was that back in the 60s, was it? I thought it was the 80s or 90s. Even.
Well, it was around for decades. But I think they first built it back in the 60s, Cold War, go and spy. Yeah, because it used to be able to go to something crazy like 85,000 feet, I'm guessing here.
Yeah, so super high altitudes, but it also, I think it hit Mach 3 or something
like
that.
It did. So anyway, so maybe Ben Biggs named it after the Blackbird there, which actually started me thinking about the Bluebird. When you got the Blackbird and the Peregrine, the Bluebird was Donald Campbell. If you remember Donald Campbell.
Yeah, I remember Donald Campbell. Yeah, he was the land speed record.
Land speed record, that's right. And I'm actually thinking here, so 6:57 is the current record for the drone.
And that's about half the speed of sound, by the way.
Yeah,
so
you get about Mach 0.5, aren't you? Probably a little bit touch over that, And the record that he broke, or they broke, was 626 kilometres an hour. And I started thinking about the records that were broken in land speed records. So the first one, going back to 1898, was 63 kilometres an hour. So I've been that speed on a push bike. So back then, in 1898, that was a little internal combustion engine. I'm sure it'll be noisy and smoky and greasy.
Some people have beaten that speed in the main street.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Now they do. It jumped. And I'm not going to go through all of them, but it jumped fairly quickly. So by 1899, it was up to 105. A few years later, 205, 281. Then Donald Campbell came along, and he first broke it in 1928. And over 7 years, he broke it 9 times.
Right.
I think normally breaking his own record, it's like being at an auction, isn't it? Right, I've got that. No one else bidding. Okay, I'll bid again.
No, you only want to break it by a little bit, so you can break it again next time. Yeah.
So he took it from 333 up to 484.
Wow.
And then a few years later, they came in with jet engines. And so then Campbell came back again, 1964. So all those years afterwards, 649 kilometres an hour.
Yeah.
And then Andy Green in 1997 said, you know what, I'm just going to put it to bed. 1228. So over the speed of sound. And that's stood since 1997. But my point there was, in the early days, it was being broken on a fairly regular basis. Now it hasn't been touched for near enough to 30 years. So here we are with
fairly expensive sort of enterprise. I would expect.
It's not something we tinker on the weekend, is it?
But the drone technology is something people can tinker with.
Yeah, that's right.
And it's open, folks.
At the moment, maybe you'll get to the stage where it's serious.
At the moment.
But the Bells took about 5 months of playing around, and they just used home tools. This is the cool part about it, is they got a dual extruder 3D printer, so they printed the body as a single integrated structure, and they believe that was partly to help them get less resistance as it flew. Now, of course, a quadcopter drone is designed to be stable, not necessarily fast. It's not like it's pointing in the right direction with a jet coming out the back. It's got quadcopters on there. So to get that sort of speed is pretty impressive. They put 4 900 kilovolt brushless motors on. This thing's still fairly small. So go and have a look at the video of it. It's pretty small. So they did that. They think that getting the surface smooth, getting the motors the right power, and then being able to adjust it all so it could fly fast and still be relatively stable. And of course, to break a Guinness World Record, you've got to do 2 flights over a certain distance, 1 in each direction, just in case there's a big tailwind. You've got to fly against the wind and with the wind, and then you get it verified by Guinness World Record. So all pretty good. But I do like the fact that they've got, I'm sure not just a little cheap 3D printer, they've got a 3D printer. Let's just print up this and let's tinker with these motors. And I have no idea how much they spent, but I can't imagine they would have spent a lot of money on this at all, as I don't imagine Ben Biggs spent a lot of money on the process.
Wouldn't be surprised if certain military organisations are tapping him on the shoulder and saying, hey, what do you reckon?
Maybe he says, can I put it on YouTube? I'm not sure if you can actually put them on YouTube once you work with us. So, yeah, it's quite fascinating. And I think there's 2 things here. One is that we are understanding more about aerodynamics. It's incredibly complicated aerodynamics. So we're understanding more slowly about aerodynamics. And of course, 3D printing we know is great for rapid prototyping rather than in the old days you might try and build something out of clay and then put it in a wind tunnel.
Yeah.
Now we've got computer simulations and 3D printing. We can build something pretty quick and then test it out. No, that doesn't work. We'll try this. What about if we did that? How about trying this? So whole range of things we can do
it's
there.
amazing sort of field engineering now, isn't it?
It is, yeah. So, imagine that. I was just thinking now, you mentioned military. Imagine that drone, right, get into that battlefield, get some photos, get out of there.
Get over that parapet and do what you got to do, get out.
And no one will even know.
It's all done in less than a couple of seconds.
Yeah.
Oh, dear. Toyota never really troubled itself in competing with the purebred EV market. However, they have been putting a lot of their resources into hydrogen-fueled research. Like a number of futurists, they see the greatest potential in transport being in hydrogen power. And to get this concept across, would you believe that they're demonstrating the merits of hydrogen fuel by drag racing semi-trailers? What could possibly go wrong here, Matt?
Nothing could go wrong. Can you think of anything more fun than that?
I know, but these things are not built for drag racing.
They're not. It's like when you see some of the truck racing on Oran Park or some of the racetracks.
Oh,
they just look inherently unstable, don't they?
They do, yes. But the whole idea is we want to be able to transport goods quickly over long distances.
We do, yes.
Yeah.
So the official line from Toyota as to why they didn't really join or they've come late to the battery electric party is that they've said we've been quietly investing in hydrogen for decades. We believe that's the future.
Yeah.
The unofficial line from Toyota when they sit in the boardroom is, oops, we got that wrong. That's me speaking, not necessarily an unofficial line officially from Toyota, but I think they missed the mark. I think some new manufacturers came along and some existing manufacturers, and they went pretty quick on EVs, and Toyota went, whoops, we had this hybrid concept.
The hybrid, yeah. So they're
decades
still
ago.
Pushing the hybrid big
That's
time, I
right,
tell
yeah.
you.
Yep. So they've now realised that maybe we've even missed the whole EV space. Let's go heavy on hydrogen. They released the Toyota Mirai, M-I-R-A-I, in California because there are some refueling stations in California for hydrogen. So they've released it over there. Not a big seller around the world, not a big seller necessarily in California, I don't think. But the thing that's interesting here is that I think the manufacturers of the EVs out there at the moment that are doing fantastic, whether they're an EV only, whether they're a newcomer, whether they're someone that's changed over and saying EV is our future, the simple fact to me is that an EV and a hydrogen vehicle are very much the same vehicle, but they've just got a different storage of energy.
Yeah.
So you've got electric motors in both. You've got electricity used to drive that in both. The only difference is in an EV, you've got a big battery that sits there that stores all that energy, and you've got hydrogen in a hydrogen vehicle which converts that energy to electricity to drive the electric motors.
And for mine, now maybe I've got this wrong, but I mean for the EVs now, the battery's in the floor. There's a lot, and it's in parts of the walls of the car as well. Whereas for the hydrogen fuel cell, you need to take up some other space.
Well, you need
some
to
other
have
payload space.
Some space where a petrol tank might have been in the past, for example.
Yeah,
But again, I think that if I'm a manufacturer that's going really well with my EVs and that's all I'm manufacturing, or I'm selling lots of EVs, and I'm looking to the future going, hydrogen might be a relevant fuel energy source at some stage in the future. All the work I'm doing in making those electric motors better, making the car drive better, all that work is still of absolute use when I then one day say, I'm now going to offer a hydrogen version of this same vehicle. So you could buy vehicles in the past in petrol or diesel, you might be able to buy ones in the future in electric or hydrogen. And again, the concept will be very similar in the way it drives. It'll just be, do you need to drive a long way on a regular basis and want quick refueling? Hey, go to the hydrogen version. If you're happy to just drive and you're not going long distances very regularly, then go the EV version. That makes more sense. But where it is, I think anyway, where hydrogen will come to the fore is anything that involves long distance. So whether it be trucking, trains, ships, I think that's where it is. And so that's where Toyota, again, have said, let's get some trucks and stick them out on our 12,000 acre testing ground and see how we go getting some trucks that are diesel and some trucks that are hydrogen and test them against each other. And no surprise here, when I've read some reports there, the diesel trucks fail significantly compared to the hydrogen trucks in acceleration, in their smoothness, in their comfort factor for the drivers, in their surprise, surprise, emissions.
But that's a big thing, isn't it? In city traffic, that acceleration, when you're constantly stopping at lights and whatnot, the amount of time that they must lose in just having to get up to speed. So the open roads are great for the current diesel generation of trucks and whatnot, but hydrogen might really win over for this inner city trucking business.
And the big difference is, of course, refuelling. I'm not making money in my trucking company while my truck's sitting somewhere charging up. So refueling is the secret here. They can refuel in a similar time frame to diesel. So you plug in, you fill it up with hydrogen, away you go. Obviously, people are worried about hydrogen. They have these images of maybe Hindenburg in their mind.
Let's not go down that road.
That's right. So there's a lot of work being done by Toyota.
Just won't make the fuel tanks out of paper, and we should be right.
That's right. Note to Toyota. But they've been doing a lot of work on making sure they've got safe fuel cells. If it detects a leak, try and seal that leak off, a whole range of things. And again, that's what I'd be doing, because you want to make sure the public's mind is at ease, because one thing that happens with vehicles is sometimes they're in an accident. So you can build it so it's perfect on the showroom floor, but when it's in an accident, that's when you want it to be safe.
These things have got to be impregnable, haven't they? They've really got to be impregnable because it's got a low ignition temperature.
Yep.
It
doesn't take much.
It doesn't take much.
So then the big thing to me is the chicken and egg scenario. You've got people out there saying, I wouldn't mind going to hydrogen for my trucking company, for my car. I'm a sales rep. I'm driving 500 kilometres a day every day. I want a hydrogen car. There's no refueling stations. So the refueling station companies are saying, well, I'm not going to go and put all that money into infrastructure. There's no one out there driving hydrogen cars. So I think that's where you'll have to see government investment. Yeah. But Toyota have actually invested in a chain, or a large company that has a chain of fuel cells, hydrogen fuel refueling stations, where they will actually say, we believe the way that we'll get Toyota hydrogen vehicles going is by having refueling stations, so let's invest in that, which is not dissimilar to what Tesla did by having lots of charging or superchargers that they installed. They said the way we'll get people to adopt our cars is to have superchargers everywhere. So it's almost like they've looked at Tesla, the new kid on the block, and went, maybe we should kind of do what they did in the past.
And those superchargers are now all throughout Western New South Wales.
They're everywhere. So it's a smart move. And of course, there's other companies doing it as well, but it's a smart move. And I think the same, if you had someone who started building hydrogen refueling stations, which put more cars on the road, then other companies would say, or even petrol station companies would go, right, we've now got somewhere where you put in to fill up with petrol or diesel or hydrogen. Because when taxis used to always use LPG, what happened to petrol stations? There was always a Bowser. I'm not sure if that's the right term for an LPG station, but there was always a spot where a taxi could come in and refuel as well. So that would make sense, but you need some of the cars out there on the road. So it's fascinating, I think.
It'll be a case of watch this space over the next 5 years. I think.
Absolutely right. And I think I'm not convinced that Toyota have done it the right way. I think Toyota did miss the boat, but I think there's recovery time, and I think this might be a way for them to recover and give us better options overall.
And the market will show us what happens.
Yeah, that's right. The market will show.
It seems that the developers of the Commodore 64 were really onto something back in 1983 when they deemed that the cassette tapes were the best way to store data for computing. Sure, the idea was superseded by another, which was later superseded by another and another and another, until, ladies and gentlemen, we have come full circle right back to cassette tapes again. Believe it or not, yes, folks, everything old is new again, but your old TDKs with the metallic plastic tape, they'll be no good here, Matt.
So just for those younger listeners, a cassette tape is about half the size of a banana.
But it's got to be a squashed banana too. It's got
a bit of height to it, hasn't
flattened it?
So I'm not sure a banana works that well, because flatten your banana, squash it, cut the end off, squeeze it around that way, and there you go. It's a cassette tape. So isn't this fascinating? Cassette tapes, when they had music on them, back when we used to listen to them as kids, they would have maybe, 10 songs per side?
Nah, not even that, I don't reckon. They would have had maybe 7 or 8 songs each side.
Yeah, that's right. So, and even the turning it over, that's a fascinating concept where you look at the bit of tape, which didn't look very wide. It was much less than a banana in width. And banana skin, it might have been, and then it would have literally one song on one half of that, and the other half had the other music on there.
Yep.
So cassette tapes were quickly superseded by CDs, and of course now we just stream all our music. Cassettes weren't great because even a record, which was pretty hard to put a record in a Walkman and go for a run with it, but a record, if I wanted to listen to song 6 on the record, I could just pick up the arm, move it to song 6, and you could see the little gaps, of course.
You could see the shininess.
Yeah, that's right. And you could drop it onto song 6. Whereas a cassette tape, fast forward, and of course, if you really want to damage a cassette, fast forward with it on play. So you'd hear a break.
Don't talk about that. No, you were going to wreck it.
That's right, you were indeed. So you'd fast forward. What song is it up to now? No, fast forward again.
You go too fast, so you have to go back.
They weren't great. They were great for sequential, but that was about it. So we quickly shelved those, and of course, many better ways to listen to music on the run. And even though vinyl's making a comeback, I have not heard of audio cassette tapes making a comeback. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there's some out there. Maybe there's some group somewhere that says, hold on, what about us? But
it's such a classic. Well, it kind of wasn't.
It probably wasn't. So now we've got DNA storage, and this is fascinating. So DNA stores data through the sequence of A, T, C, and G. So like we've got zeros and ones with binary, you've got those 4 bases that store DNA. And it's often been said by scientists, again, human body got this right, that DNA is probably the most efficient or one of the most efficient ways to store data that we know of. There might be more efficient ways, but the human body came up with this, so maybe it's not too bad.
Well, in all your cells, you've got pretty much all the instructions to make an entire Matthew Dickerson.
Pretty scary, isn't it? Imagine that. Imagine that many of me out there. So with that, scientists then said, now that we've cracked DNA, and we did that, 15, 20 years ago? The ability to read DNA longer?
Yeah. 2005, I think, was when we finished the Human Genome Project.
Yeah, so we've got the ability now to start to play with it. And so what scientists have come up with is a DNA-based cassette tape, 36 petabytes of data. So that's a proper SI unit. But to give you a comparison, when we talked before about maybe 7 or 8 songs on a cassette per side, this could store about 3 billion songs on a 100-metre length of cassette tape.
It could store all of the songs.
That's right. Are there more than 3 billion songs? Probably not. So what about the ones I sing in the shower? Are they counted in those 3 billion? So that's quite fascinating. And so it's taking that old concept of cassette tape, using some modern technology and synthetic DNA molecules. And the great thing about DNA is it's stable. So if we want to store something long term, I can't see us buying a cassette tape with every song ever made on it. But if we want to keep something stable, so if we want to keep really important data, archives, that sort of thing, and there are places around the world that these sort of things are stored, then you could put all of that onto a few cassette tapes. And we know you go back 100 years and they're going to be pretty much in the same condition, and that data is going to be intact. When are we going to see the ability to store the data on my servers, the kids' videos, whatever, on a DNA cassette tape? Maybe 5 years. So it's not that far down the track.
What?
Yeah. So you'll be, and maybe not one that will store 36 petabytes, but one that will store a large amount of data. They're talking about.
So here's the thing: we've got to worry about if you sell someone a cassette tape that has got what did you say, 36
petabytes?
Petabytes.
36 petabytes.
36 petabytes. Then they're only going to need one cassette tape for their entire life. You're only going to sell one to them.
That's right. It's not good for repeat business, is it? I'll see you next.
Never.
Century? Yeah, maybe never. So I find it fascinating. But even the idea of that, we've worked out this DNA concept, and it's only 20 years later that someone said, you know what, we can now fiddle with that and turn it into a data storage medium. It just fascinating.
We're so clever, aren't we?
Here we are. Yeah, before AI came along.
Now, I don't know too many people who see the Tesla fully self-driving option as a must-have option. And when I say that, I mean I don't know anyone who has needed the fully self-driving feature option and used it on a daily basis, that is. You could say that despite its great potential, it's perhaps still something of a novelty. One that for many is more expensive than it's really worth, I guess, which is why the folks at Tesla have had a major rethink of their marketing, Matt.
They have, and this is going along with many other car manufacturers doing something similar. But I think the concept here is if you're going to fork out 10 grand or thereabouts, you're going to be pretty confident it's going to work. And in the past, it's been fork out 10 grand and it'll be working anytime soon. It'll be working before Christmas, definitely. They just never specified which Christmas it was going to be working before. So people had invested in it and they'd spent the extra 10 grand or thereabouts on the full self-driving option, and several years later they're still waiting for it to be rolled out. And of course they've been in a bit of trouble. They've had some lawsuits where basically some pretty serious regulatory scrutiny over the claims of full self-driving, FSD, full self-driving. That stands to me, I can sit in the back seat, have a cup of coffee, and it's going to be fully self-driven, of course, which isn't the case. So they've had to scale back that. They've kind of called it back to FSDS, full self-driving supervised, which kind of seems a little bit contradictory there. It's full self-driving as long as it's supervised. So it's not really full self-driving, is it? So that's been an issue, but that's probably put people off buying it. And what they really need, what Tesla really wants, is data. They want to see thousands, tens of thousands of cars out there using full self-driving so they can learn what works. They want us to be guinea pigs, basically. So if they're not getting people subscribing to it or paying the money, they're not getting that data they need to improve it.
3 years ago, it was around Christmas time, 3 years ago, I got a message from Tesla saying, hey, listen, we're going to give you for free the option to, it wasn't fully self-driving, of course, but it must autopilot with some functionality.
Yep.
I guess it was parking. I guess it was on the open road. It'd be able to, and for $10,000 though, and it was just had to press the button on the app, and I would have it, you know.
Yeah.
But I thought to myself, there's so many other things I want to spend $10,000 on.
That's right. My wife, for example, that was the first thing you thought of.
Do I want to put it on this? And so if with that option, you either have it or you don't.
Yeah.
I said, don't worry about it.
Yeah.
But this says, yeah, you can have it when you want it for a bit. And then you don't have to have it, and then you can have it again later on, yeah?
Correct. And you can turn it on and off. But more importantly, you're talking about a couple $100 rather than $10,000.
Yeah.
And you turn it on, you go, that's not that good. You turn it on, you go, wow, this has changed my life. This is fantastic. Gee, it saved my life the other day. A kangaroo came out and it braked automatically for me. I couldn't have ever braked that quickly. Whatever. You give it a go, and then you make a decision. Now, potentially for an owner, it will be more expensive. If it's $200 a month, then over a year, you just pay $2,500 or $2,400. So then over a few years, you don't take long to get to $10,000. And you go, well, I would have been better off just paying the $10,000. But you may never have tried it.
Yeah.
You may never have liked it.
That's right.
That way.
Well, they're just not getting people trying it because, like me, once the free trial was over, I didn't want to be coaxed into thinking, oh, yeah, that's worth the $10,000.
That's right.
However, given the choice to do it for a couple of hundred, I think I might.
And if you were on the road a bit, if you had Christmas holidays coming up, we're going to drive there, we're going to do 3,000 kilometres in the next couple of weeks, so I might turn it on. It might be a good feature to try out and see how it goes over that, whereas if it's your daily commute where you're not doing many kilometres, you might think, well, is it really worth it for that? So turn it off. And we've done a story, it was a while ago now, where BMW said it was cheaper for them to manufacture every car with seat heaters. But we make money out of selling accessories. So we're only going to turn it on if you then turn on the subscription. It was $5 a month or thereabouts. And you turn it on and you have your seat heaters on, and then you decide you don't want them anymore, or it's summertime, turn it off. So that way that exposed more people to buying the accessory, and it made it cheaper for them to manufacture. So it was a win-win for both. So I think we're going to see more and more of this where you'll turn those various options on, because so many of them are just software. Seat heaters.
Yeah, that's right.
Sure, it's built into the seat, but it's software turning it on or off. With full self-driving, they've got everything built in because they want to sell it to you later. They don't want to have you go back to the dealership, in inverted commas, to get that accessory installed. That's yesterday.
A pain in the neck.
That's right. Whereas they just want to be able to turn it on. So I can see cars where they come out with all the features, and it's just, I'll go into my app and I'll turn on A, B, F, and G, and that's what I want for this week or this month, whatever it might be. So so Tesla have gone that way, and going from, they used to sell everything up front, and so your expensive car, free supercharging for a lifetime, all these things built in, they've gone, maybe the regular income model is better than just the all up front model.
Now, I'm not going to lie to you, I am not a fan of emails. So many of them require a response, and that response may take 15 minutes to an hour and a half, or maybe more. And if you're anything less than obsessive, we all know that emails back up faster than peak hour traffic on Parramatta Road. The counter for unread emails in my inbox is a mark of personal shame, shall I confess. Matt, I cannot be the only one with an inbox like an adolescent's bedroom. Is there any hope on the horizon for me?
So you're not a fan? I didn't pick that.
You've got to use them. They're a necessary evil. But there have been times where I have allowed, I haven't checked them for a week.
I was going to say for an hour. That's all it takes sometimes. Didn't check for an hour.
If anyone really needs to get hold of me, they'll get hold of me.
Right. See, one of the things I struggle with is my kids who don't like to use emails, so they'll use every other messaging aspect they possibly can.
Well, if they try to Snapchat me, they're not going to answer. Yeah.
That's right. But that's the problem. The kids will say, "Oh, did you see that thing I sent you the other day, Dad?" I go, "Okay, which platform?" And I keep saying to them, "Can you just use email, please?" So, and I, almost as a bit of stubbornness, I always send them messages in email, even the good messages. Here's your Christmas present or something. And if they don't contact me for a few days, I go, "Right, I've got it. They haven't checked their email for a few days, so check your email."
But they all seem to, like when they require a response, sometimes you can punch one out in a minute.
Yep.
But often it's 15 minutes, half an hour,
That's right.
hour and a half. Needs a bit more research. Got to go and talk to some other people, and the job that you were going to do, it doesn't get done.
And I'm convinced that before you go on holidays, you sometimes clamp your inbox and get it all right. And then what you should
I've
do...
never done that.
Right.
Are you kidding me?
Well, I was going to say, you clean it up and get it right, and then don't go on holidays because your life would feel so organised then if you had it all cleaned up, ready to go on holidays, for example.
Yeah.
Anyway, Gemini, or to be correct, Alphabet, using Gemini and Gmail, believes they've got a solution for you and other people that might get it.
God for that. Yeah.
So there was some testing done, and I read a range of reviews from people that have started to use this. And this is an AI inbox. So basically, you've got your normal Gmail, your normal Google or Gmail inbox, and you can say, "I'll turn on my AI inbox." Now, what it does is it doesn't basically say, "I'm going to replace the traditional inbox." What it does is it groups all your emails, and it groups them with things like to do, topics to follow, a daily action snapshot. Frequent contacts are used to move things up closer to the top. So someone you frequently communicate with will be closer to the top. Someone you don't, maybe move back down to the bottom.
Could use that.
Yeah, that's definitely right. And it's not too bad. But again, I read some of the reviews there. And so things like a one-time code came through, so two-factor authentication, and a code came through, and that was flagged as low priority, or turned into a task for some reason. So not perfect. And those sort of things, you want them straight away because I'm waiting now. You've got 1 minute to reply.
Yep.
It needs it straight to the top. So it's not perfect. But the other thing that you'll love about this is that you've got a feature called Help Me Write. So it's a ghostwriter for those messages you've got to send back. So read that message and then please give me an appropriate response.
Yeah, Gemini, give me a response for that.
Yeah, well, I've actually tried this, and I've used it, not with Gemini, with another tool, where I've said, give me a summary of the email that was sent, because the email was too long for me to read another time.
Yeah, there are
and then give me a response that's a nice summarised response as well. And I almost sent it, and then I went, I might have missed something in there.
Yeah, you've still got to read it. You've still got to read it because you've got to know the detail.
Just in case they said, and by the way...
Got to know what you're agreeing to or what you've knocked back.
I think of the puffy shirt show on Seinfeld where he didn't hear what she asked him to do. Next thing you know, he's on the Today Show with a puffy shirt on. So you might agree to something in an email and they go, thanks for that, James. You go, well, hold on. Let me go back and read that again.
I agreed to what? You said you were going to. It was in the email.
Yeah. So what it does do is if you get it to write a response for you, it will mimic the writing tone of the person, of you, and then send back an appropriate response. So if someone's casual in their language and taking up your language as well, it'll use that language. So it's getting there, but I want to know what I'm replying to, what I'm saying yes or no to. They're expecting me to have a certain amount of knowledge. Remember I sent you that a couple of weeks ago and you said this. So have you done that? Oh, what was I meant to do again? So I don't know. It's scary, but...
And I've got to say, a lot of the stuff that AI is providing me now, I still feel like I've got to do that and do the quality control.
That's right.
And so often I'll just go, well, I just know how to do it better the first time. I'm just going to do it the first time myself.
Yeah.
So AI has yet to really land with me, I've got to say, but perhaps this is going to solve some problems for me.
So there's a whole range of tools you can use. There's ones called Superhuman, SaneBox, and Fixer, Fyxer, Fixer AI. You can have those tools for $30 a month, and they'll help you manage your inbox. But I think sometimes you've just got to do it. It's plane flight material. I mean, in fact, sometimes some of my friends or staff say they know when I've been on a plane flight because suddenly they get bombarded with 20 emails at once where I've been on the plane, out of touch sometimes. Lots of emails, and when you land, of course, you connect and they just all go flooding through.
Boom,
But it's good because when you're not getting responses back, you go, I've cleaned up my inbox. It's fantastic now. And then, of course, when you land, they all come flooding back in again.
The sweep function is something that I've just discovered on Outlook there. And, I'm able to just group emails together, like from a particular sender, and just go, right, get rid of them all. I
think you'd say answer all, not get rid of them all.
Answer them all. Yeah.
But I almost want to say to people, don't send back a response that's just okay, or it's done now. You don't need to be the last one to submit a response because I've got to deal with that one as well.
Yeah.
You asked me something,
Yeah.
I've given you the answer.
Yep.
Don't come back and say, okay,
don't need
I'm
to send
going
me another one.
to take it as a given that you've understood unless you come back with further questions. But so many people go, okay, thanks for that. Oh, they're being polite. I can't say anything, but
There is a whole new email etiquette, isn't there?
oh, there is. Don't respond unless you've got something to add to the conversation is what I want to say,
Yep.
because then you just end up with all these okays. That's where maybe AI can help. But if it's just a response that says okay or thanks, then just delete it.
sweep
Just
it.
take care
Yep.
of it.
Yep.
Sweep it.
Now, the costs for AI engines like ChatGPT must be piling up, and maybe subscriptions are just not covering the price of the free version. Whatever the reason, ChatGPT is luring advertisers now, folks, so it can be guaranteed that your AI using experience is going to change over the next few months, Matt.
I think what we'll see here is nothing in Australia, because in the US only it starts.
Right.
But how long before,
Before people just get jack of it and say, I'm not using this anymore.
or how long
Or
before
go
they just
somewhere
start flooding Australian market with advertising?
Yeah, okay. Yeah, right.
So at the moment, we're at the beginning of 2026. I don't have figures for the second half of 2025, but ChatGPT or OpenAI lost $9 billion in the first half of 2025.
Wow.
Now, I don't know what happened in the second half. Let's assume it was the same. Then that's $18 billion. That's bigger than our combined bank accounts, I'm hazarding to say.
Well, I haven't checked this afternoon.
Maybe
But-
about the same size as. So that's a lot of money to lose for an organisation that says we've got 800 million users globally. Now, when you're trying to attract customers in business, you want more of them. That's typically a good thing, and you want them spending some money as well. I reckon if I've got 800 million users of my product, whatever that product is, surely I can find some way to make money. Losing $18 billion, that's billion. That's a lot. That's a lot of money to lose for a product that is very popular. And out of guilt alone, I do pay my subscription to OpenAI because I figure I don't want to be one
You've
of those
got techno
freeloaders.
guilt.
Yeah, I have.
I don't.
If they're doing all that work for me that I'm making some use of, only 5%, so you don't feel too guilty, only 5% of ChatGPT users are paying any subscription. So 95%.
And you're getting enough thanks as well.
95% of people out there using chat are not paying a single cent, hence the loss of $18 billion or thereabouts. So OpenAI plans to spend about $170 billion over the next 4 years to help its growth. And I'm thinking, who's sitting on the board of this? What are you doing? How can you be supporting growth? Will that mean you grow the losses even more? So obviously at some stage someone said, hey, I don't want to be a bit of a pain sitting on the board here. We're having a lovely day, but should we look at profitability maybe?
What they're doing is they're getting people so hooked that they'll become junkies for it and they can't work without it, and so they'll pay whatever for it when they
and
finally make it. But I mean, the advertising is going to solve the problem now.
Well, hopefully. And the wider internet economy has really relied on advertising since the beginning of the internet, really. For decades, it's been an advertising-driven revenue. Free-to-air TV was an advertising-driven revenue until pay TV came along, but it was working on that for a long time. So, obviously, OpenAI has said, what are we going to do to make money? Let's put our greatest minds at work and see what we can come up with. Let's do what everyone else has done and put some advertising on there rather than a subscription model. So that seems to be the way they're going. So they're starting off in the US. They're targeting free users, so that might be enough to push you over the line to be a subscriber. And there'll be essentially a process where, this is according to OpenAI, you won't have your answers that you're given impacted by advertising, whereas Google, you search something on Google and the top responses that come back are the paid advertisers.
Yeah.
OpenAI is saying, no, we won't do that. We'll have advertising appear on the page, but the answers that are given are still going to be completely independent, so they say. Now, maybe that'll change.
Yeah.
Who knows? But there'll be a new low-cost subscription tier as well called ChatGPT Go. So that'll be cheaper than normal subscription. There'll still be advertising on that. If you want to get rid of your that'll be about $12 per month. If you want to get rid of your advertising, go to the Plus model, which is about $30, or the Pro model, which is about $300. Both of those are monthly figures. So, yeah, I mean, let's say you go searching for travel ideas in Mexico. Presumably, that'll trigger some banner-style ads to come up and say, here are some travel deals to Mexico. But the answer you get, theoretically, will be independent. So it may be saying, use company XYZ, because they're great, is the independent ChatGPT advice. But the ad that comes up might be use company ABC, because it's just advertising, it's just paid advertising. So then that conflict, I don't know how long that can continue on for before finally ChatGPT has to say, we'll look after advertisers. We'll look after those people who look after us first. So it's an interesting world out there. ChatGPT can't continue on as they are now. They're going to have to do something, and this is the first step.
Interesting is the word for it. Yeah, I just I guess we've been in a little bit of a haven lately because it's been so free. But
and the competition amongst the various AI tools out there, the Gemini we talked about before, ChatGPT, they'll want to be the big kid on the block. So damn the cost. We'll make sure we're the number one, and eventually someone's got to pay here
for this. All right, people, that's all we have time for today. It's time we got out of here, into our cozies and into the pool. Those dive toys aren't going to fetch themselves out of the deep end by themselves. Thanks for another cracking tech talk, mate.
Well, could I send my robot in, my service robot in? Can you pick up those things off the bottom of the pool? There's no more fun diving down looking for those.
Are they waterproof yet? Are any of those robots waterproof?
Probably not, no. But I've got to keep looking. I've got to get one. I've got to get one that one day we're going to be sitting here doing the podcast and in comes a couple of drinks served by a robot waiter.
Wouldn't that be nice?
It would be nice.
And some snacks too.
Okay, sure. I'll put that on the list.
And thank you for tuning in once again to Tech Talk with Matthew Dickerson. Tech Talk is brought to you each week with an ever-increasing gratitude to the renewable energy sources that power our ever-expanding electricity grid. Thank you to the endless green and clean energy sources of sunshine and wind. May you glow and blow forevermore. I'm your very loose-lipped host, James Eddy, signing off for yet another episode. But fret not, loyal followers, for we will be back with another freshly cracked episode in a week's time. Our promise to you is kept safely and securely. Until then, take care, and we'll see you when we see you.